In this video, I'm going to show you the swings of Miller Barber and Eamonn Darcy to help put your golf mind at ease. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at Miller Barber's setup first of all. You can see how far his hands are away from his hips, or rather from his thighs. Now, I'll show you how modern teaching pros think this, but first let's look at Miller Barber's swing. And it's a slow-mo, so I'll just kind of move it through a little faster so you can see, and I'll come back and talk about it. So watch his swing. Never seen it before. Holy crap, watch that. See that? Jeez. Impact, beautiful. Down the line, through the ball. So, if you've never heard of Miller Barber, uh, he won 11 PGA Tour events during the prime. When he was in his prime, so was Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino. And Miller Barber won 11 times on the PGA Tour, beating all these guys. And then he played on the senior PGA Tour, and he won 24 times. So you can see his takeaway is so different. Everyone talks about low and wide. Look at this. He's got his elbow. Look at this elbow bend. It's unbelievable. Look where the club is pointing. Completely unique. Now, what do teaching pros say about this? So let's look at Miller Barber's setup position, and we'll look at a popular online teaching pro that you can watch today. I mean, he's kind of fun to watch, but I wouldn't listen to him in terms of golf instruction when it comes to setting up to the golf ball and learning how to swing from your heels, which is what you need to do. By the way, all my videos, for the most part, are about setting up base up to the ball at the proper distance for your movement skills and learning how to move from your heels. And what I mean by that is so that when you swing through the ball, your rear foot is not off the ground at impact. And you can see where Miller Barber still hasn't come up onto his toe yet. And by the way, you cannot push off. There's no push off here. This is the follow through pulling him off his rear heel. Okay, so notice this setup position, and we'll go to Rick Shields right now. Look what Rick Shields says is the correct way. You see, when people highlight things like how to stand correctly to the ball, so you can see Rick Shields, who struggles to beat the good guys. I mean, these are all really good golfers, but they're not good enough to win 11 times on the PGA Tour. Even back in the heyday of Miller Barber, because these guys would be playing against Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino. So look at what he says. This is the only way these guys teach arms straight down. Why do they do this? There's a very simple reason why they all do this, and why they say if you put your hands further away from your body. Can you imagine how ridiculous this is? Why couldn't Rick Shields just put his hands out here? No, he has to bend forward and hunch over farther than Mo Norman would ever hunch over. So Mo Norman has his hands far away from his body, but never hunches over like this. They call this reaching. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So why do they teach this? Well, they teach this because they're good players, not good enough to make money actually playing golf, so they can teach it. And they're personable and they speak well. But the point is that their teaching approach is purely institutionalized. There is absolutely no room for unbelievable swings, sorry about that, unbelievable swings like the swing of Miller Barber, who again won 11 times on the PGA Tour. So who would be the next guy who you should look at? And I mentioned, of course, at the beginning, Eamonn Darcy. Let's watch his swing. So here's Eamonn Darcy. Let me get back to the beginning, and I can and this is only 10 seconds in its full speed. So let's watch all of these. Now, by the way, Eamonn Darcy, he has multiple so-called swing flaws. He moves completely different than the way Rick Shields, who can never beat him, would teach him how to swing. But this guy was good enough to help the Europeans win the Ryder Cup in 1987 when this swing beat Ben Crenshaw's beautiful move. So let's watch Eamonn Darcy's completely unorthodox swing that no teaching pro would ever allow a student to do, except for, by the way, David Lee. And also probably Craig Shanklin, who I've taken lessons with, who was good friends with Mo Norman. Craig Shanklin's one of the guys where he takes what you have and works with it, as opposed to putting you into the cookie cutter approach. But David Lee loved the swing of Miller Barber. We never talked about Eamonn Darcy, but he loved Miller Barber. But Eamonn Darcy, very, very similar. So watch this quick 10-second bit. There you go. So let's just look at his takeaway. Just like Miller Barber, you see his takeaway? It's not wide. You got to get width. No, you don't. What are they talking about? These are guys have no idea what they're talking about, because when you see people like this, they're outliers that completely disrupt the dogmatic, boilerplate, institutionalized golf instruction that the PGA unfortunately promotes. So look how high his elbow goes. Yeah, I want to show you this too. So you got to look at his setup position. Let's get to his setup position. Okay, so watch where his head is at setup. So this is his address spine angle position. You really can't see it, but you'll see what I mean once we go through impact. So back he goes, and now at impact, looks like he's staying down, right? Oops, except for at impact, up he comes. There he goes. Now look at his head. So his head was no higher than this platform where the camera is. Now his head is above. So this means that he's gone into early extension. Now, it's a professional version. He's got multiple different adaptations for it, like watch his left foot. Look, he's jumping now. He's jumping out of the way. And so he's actually going airborne back, this would have been back in the 80s, I guess, late 80s, maybe early 90s. So he was one of the jumpers. Now you got tons of jumpers. Look at him jump through the ball. Totally unorthodox swing through the ball. Let's look how high his right elbow goes on the down the line view. Look at that. So here he is, his spine angle. Now watch impact. Now remember, I'll tell you right now, watch this line right here, because you can see how far his head is away from it. So now watch him as he gets to impact. And up he comes, and there he goes through impact. So you can see he lost his spine angle and jumps backwards. So there's lots of ways to get your body out of the way of the ball. My suggestion, which is based upon simple kinesiological, mathematical, geometric principles, is set up. The distance from the ball at setup should be based upon your rotational movement skills, not what guys like this just randomly say because this is what everybody like them says who couldn't make any money playing professionally. And so it is pure dogmatic boilerplate. And I'm going to do an entire video showing how many pros teach this institutionalized boilerplate approach. So the first thing that you want to do is identify how far you should be from the ball. So if this is your tee shot, you saw where Miller Barber's hands were. They were out here. Arnold Palmer's hands were out here. Lee Trevino's were. Nancy Lopez were. So actually, and Mo Norman was out here. I'm like in here because I lack rotational movement skills. If you lack rotational movement skills, you've got to move your hands further away from your body so that your arms and hands can get past your body. So essentially, when you set up like this, you have to clear your hips at impact during the downswing. But if you put your hands further out, you pre-clear your hips. And then what you need to learn how to do, as I showed you with Miller Barber's swing, is learn to move through the ball with your heels flat on the ground. I'm talking this in a dynamic fashion, just like you saw Miller Barber. Now, I outline this in my book and in multiple other videos. So my suggestion is to ignore what these guys say and embrace the unorthodox swings of Miller Barber, Eamonn, Darcy, and yesteryear, also Lee Trevino and Nancy Lopez, who crossed the line, and now Matthew Wolff. And prior to Matthew Wolff, probably the most unorthodox would have been Jim Furyk. So what you need to do is identify your setup position from the ball in terms of distance for your rotational movement skills and learn to swing from your heels. Tons of my videos, almost all my videos, focus on these two key important things from different perspectives to almost beat the dead horse, because basically my videos battle all of this institutionalized golf instruction stuff. So remember, this is the problem. Golf swing instruction and commentary are institutionalized. So check out my book and videos, and you can see how easy it is. You can do it in like a couple days. Just get your right setup distance and do a couple drills to learn how to swing from your heels, and your golf life can change within a week.